Hey everybody, this is Taylor from Arsenal Los Angeles, and I'm here with my little brother Braden, who lives in New York, but I think he's somewhere else right now. Where are you?
I am outside the real Emirates Stadium right now, right here in beautiful London, outside the very real stadium. We didn't play a game here tonight, but I'm here anyway.
That's how big of a fan you are.
I just love it here.
You love it. Great.
I love it.
Well, you know what I love? I love away wins, and today we have a 2-0 away win against Nuno's Wolves, who have been playing very well. What do you think?
No, it's great. It's great to get another away win. This is our third away win in a row. The first time we've achieved that since September or October of 2018, back during Unai Emery's legendary 22 game unbeaten run. But it's just really nice to be able to string together a run of away performances, particularly this season where we've been so bad away from home, and particularly against a team like Wolves, who are actually quite good.
Yeah, they've since the restart been very, very good actually. And this game was as important, if not more important, to their qualifying chances for Europe. Not that we're like even really in the running for that. I mean, I don't think we'll get there. But to take 3 points off of them is good.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a really good result. I think it might be a bridge too far to get where we want to in terms of European qualification. I look back on that game against Brighton and wonder where we could be if we had gotten those 3 points. We would
Hmm.
probably be absolutely right in the mix right
Would
now
have
if
been
we
a
had
game
had all the
changer.
other results. Yeah, but it's still really nice. It's nice to be able to prove ourselves against a team with quality like Wolves. You have
Yeah.
Norwich, who are not quite good. You have Southampton and Sheffield United, who are a bit all over the place, especially Sheffield United since the restart, haven't quite
Hmm.
been the team they were before. But so it was really encouraging to see a result against a quality side. And we have difficult games coming up. So hopefully, this is a sign of things to come.
Well, since we've restarted, we had a little bit of a rocky first couple of games, but I think one of the things that's been pretty clear is that the in-game management from game to game has increasingly become better and better. It seems that the more time Arteta has with these players, the more he truly gets to know what they're capable of and what they should be doing. And I think this game was tactically Arteta's best game as an Arsenal manager by probably a mile. And it felt like all of the decisions he made were made in a way that truly impacted the result of the game.
Yes, I think it showed today not just a knowledge of what to expect from the opposition, but a knowledge of the limitations of the players that we have right now. Um, Both in terms of the starting lineup and also how we adjusted over time. But on the issue of game management, that has probably been the big question mark over Arteta's time at Arsenal so far. There have been a couple of instances in the past where he hasn't quite gotten subs right, or responded as quickly as you would hope to the
Yeah.
changes that the opposition team would make. But I think today he absolutely knocked it out of the park, and that's really something that only comes with games as the head coach.
Exactly.
So it's very encouraging to see that he has shown seemingly major progress in that regard so quickly. Even since the restart, I think his game management has gotten better. I'm thinking in particular of the Maitland-Niles change for Tierney, where Tierney, as he's going on in the game, it's becoming clear that he's maybe running out of gas a little bit.
Hmm.
He's played a lot. He has a big layoff before this recent run of games, so he's physically not 100% where we'd want him to be. But bringing on Maitland-Niles at the time that he did, relatively early on, is so important, especially because they had that threat of Traore down that side. We basically, as soon as we saw that Tierney might not be physically up to the task of keeping up with a player as threatening as Traore, we were able to bring on someone with fresh legs in Maitland Niles who was able to keep up and really didn't give the guy a chance. So that was very encouraging.
Yeah, I was a little frightened, I gotta say, when I saw that Traore was starting against us. Um, he is the type of player that can really damage a team, particularly a team like Arsenal that's had the blatant defensive issues that we've had that have kind of haunted us for the last few years. I know that's kind of a gruesome way of putting it, but it really has. Today, I thought that the defensive unit that we were dealing with, sorry, there's Southern California mosquitoes chomping at the bit right now. I thought that the defensive unit that we had, to your point, bringing on Ainsley Maitland-Niles for Tierney when he's tiring out to do a job, it was spot on. And I thought that the way that the defensive unit handled everything today was pretty good. They were there to kind of make up for each other's errors. There were a couple moments in the game. One that stands out to me in particular, I believe it was Traore was taking it into the box. He had just gotten past somebody, and or if I'm not mistaken, David Luiz kind of came out of the blue and just, I mean, it was really dicey. What are your thoughts on the unit that we had today? Five at the back.
3 at the back, 5 at the back, depending on how you want to swing it,
Exactly,
what phase of play, all of that. But I'm thinking of those 3 center halves, though, Kolasinac has that asterisk next to him since he's been drifting out into those left spaces. But I'm thinking of Mustafi, David Luiz, and Kolasinac there, who each of those names have at different times in the last couple of seasons struck fear into the hearts of Arsenal fans when reading the team sheet. They are all prone to moments of madness, errors, high-profile errors. But I thought they were,
You're being
as
so
a
nice
unit,
right now.
very solid today.
I've heard you talk a little bit more honestly about them.
Yes, but I think as a unit, they were actually able to cover for each other's shortcomings very well. They all knew what their responsibilities were. They didn't get carried away because they were completely assured in what the manager was asking of them in that position. Especially David Luiz in the center there. I mean, he had a yellow card like half an hour into the game, and I was worried for a second.
Me too.
Oh goodness. But he responded to that very well, and part of why he was able to respond to that very well is because he had the rest of the defensive unit looking after him and knowing that he was on that card. And not putting him in a situation where he might do something rash. And I think a word should also be said for the midfield in front of them, who have been a lot better with providing protection to a not particularly strong batch of defenders.
I'm not quite sure if Ceballos is attempting to appease Zidane, who doesn't like him, or if he's trying to win the hearts and minds of Arsenal. Do we know exactly what's going on with him?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I can't get in his head, but I do feel like, at least in these last 2 games, this wasn't quite as good of a game as the one against Norwich for Ceballos, but still a solid game. I feel like he has a better idea of what's being asked of him. I feel like all of the players have a better idea of what's being asked of them lately. Arteta has been changing quite a bit game to game, mixing things up, shifting positions for players like Saka, for example. One day you'll be on the left, one day you'll be in the middle, one day you'll be on the right. But everybody is completely on the same page with what they're supposed to be doing. There's a level of communication and understanding there from the coach that I just don't think was there before. We had the tactical changes based on the opposition with Emery, but I feel game to game, the players were sort of at a loss for what the changes were demanding of them. Whereas now I feel like everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And I feel like that was shown in Saka's performance, where, he misplaced the ball a few times, wasn't quite as good as he has been in other positions, but he got the goal and he was moving correctly. He was moving in the right spaces. His runs were good. And especially for a player of that age to be able to understand a somewhat unfamiliar position to him. I think he might have played some games there at the youth level on the right wing, but certainly at the senior level, we haven't been playing him there.
No.
It's encouraging.
One thing that I think we're seeing from a lot of these players, we're seeing it from Saka, we're seeing it from Ainsley Maitland-Niles, is that, in the past, there have been moments where our starting forward, for example, in this case, it was Pepe, couldn't start the game, and we needed to put someone in their place. And in the past, I haven't been very encouraged by some of the people that we've had to fill that gap. In this Arsenal team, at least with the youngsters, I'm starting to see this versatility that is useful, and I feel like it's more so useful when it's backed by the confidence that you see in these players. When you see Saka misplace a pass, excuse me, he makes up for it in his recovery and his movement going forward on the next run of play. He doesn't seem to tire emotionally. Maybe physically he will because he's been used a lot. But we're seeing it from a lot of players where they're asked to do something they're not necessarily comfortable with doing, but they're pretty good at it.
Yeah, I mean it's very good, and it's nice to have that quality in a team, and it's especially nice to drill that into young players because that's something that they can carry over into the rest of their career. You know, it's sometimes a bit tricky to teach an older player how to play a new position or how to play a new role, but if you're able to instill this in the youngsters at this key moment in their development, it could end up being a very valuable tool for the manager, not just before the game, setting up the lineup,
Mm-hmm.
mixing it up there. But during a game, if a player's not having luck on one side, having that ability to switch them over to the other side and have an almost seamless transition there is tremendously useful. It keeps the opposition guessing before the game, and it keeps the opposition guessing during the game.
Mm-hmm. Which we have not been very good
No, we've
at.
been this season we've been a little bit predictable at times. And I mean, if I were the coach of Wolves, I'm thinking of Saka, and I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to deal with Saka down the Arsenal left-hand side? He's not even on the left-hand
Yeah,
side in this game,
good point.
and that sort of throws a wrench into the entire plan there. So it's a tremendously valuable resource to have in the team. This sort of positional, what's the word I'm looking for?
Diversity.
Positional diversity, this ability to play across the pitch in all of these different roles. Because again, another thing with Saka, not only was he playing on the right wing, he was playing a more inside role than we're used to from
Used to
him.
seeing, yeah.
So it's very nice to see.
So I want to touch on one more thing before we leave everybody. Lacazette. We're signing all these young players. There's talks that Aubameyang is going to be done soon, hopefully. Lacazette is a player who I think most people will agree is reaching the end of his lifespan with Arsenal. That being said, he nabbed his first away goal since February of 2019 today, a goal that I think was hugely important for us for the remainder of the season. What are your thoughts about him going forward? Do you see a use for him right now? Do you think we should lay it on the kids?
I mean, hardly an original observation here, but Lacazette has been absolutely bereft of confidence. The guy has been so inside of his own head, doubting himself, and you can see it on the pitch, and it's affecting his performances. I don't think he's done enough to reclaim a spot ahead of Eddie Nketiah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any change in my thinking, at least, about what his long-term future at Arsenal holds. I think once the transfer window rolls along, we should probably look to move him on. But this goal today could be so important for the remainder of the season, because if it's able to raise his confidence to the point where we're even getting a half-firing Lacazette for the rest of this campaign, that could be huge. That could be huge, especially in the cup competition.
I think that people sometimes forget how great he was when he was with Lyon. He was somebody that I, in particular, you know this, I really admired the guy even before he was an Arsenal player. But he is somebody who lives and dies, I think, by his self-confidence. And right now it seems to be, I mean, prior to today, it seemed to be at like a criminal all-time low. Which is sad because he's been an important player for us, and he's somebody who I want to be an important player for us, but unfortunately it just doesn't seem to be happening. To your point, going forward, a half-firing Lacazette would be so tremendously useful right now when the majority of our goals are coming from Aubameyang, and I think next is Joe Willock.
I mean, it's Joe Willock is up there. It's Aubameyang, Martinelli, I think Pepe, and then Willock are most involved or highest goal scorers this season. But yeah, we need goals.
I guess what I'm saying
Aubameyang
is I
can't do it
want
on
to
his
see the
own.
striker strike. It would do him good.
Yes, yeah, it would do him good, and it would also do us a
Yes.
tremendous amount of good. So
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing his involvement in the next couple of games, even if it's not starting. It was a promising substitution from him. If he can come on and score a goal off the bench again, that would be just delightful.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I'm gonna let you go. I see you got your friends waiting for you in the background. You're gonna
Of course, yes. Have a
you
night
got
on the
to
town.
exactly 6 feet apart though.
Of course.
Okay. Well, thanks for chatting with me, and I'll catch you after the next game.
Bye bye.